You talk
I
again?
believe this might be breaking news, but I believe the Patriots just took Mac Jones at pick 15.
I believe the Patriots just took Mac Jones at pick 15 as well, and I just tweeted it out that they took Mac Jones at 15. So
there it is.
I believe that is it. That's going to be the pick. I am stunned, and I really did not think that the Patriots were going to be able to stay here at 15 and get their pick and get their player. And like I said, I guess Mac Jones was their guy all along, and that's pretty stunning. I really,
yeah,
I really,
it's amazing.
I really wasn't sure that this was going to be the pick. I coming into the draft cycle, it made so much sense to see Mac Jones in a Patriot uniform in terms of some of the cerebral things that he was able to do in the pocket, the accuracy, the footwork, the mechanics, the quick eyes, as I just described earlier. But it really felt like he wasn't somebody that was going to elevate it for them, that was going to take it to the next level. But obviously they feel like it is. And I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to say, because it's a pick that you're excited to get that next quarterback. You're excited that they were able to land the QB of the future in the first round. This is what everybody wanted it to be. We had all sort of gotten ourselves on the Justin Fields, Trey Lance, selling ourselves on that upside, selling ourselves on all of that good stuff that we saw from those quarterback prospects. But Mac Jones is the type of passer that has succeeded in the Brady mold and the Jimmy G mold. This is their type of guy. This is the traditional Patriot type of guy. The other thing I will say, my guess is that Bill Belichick won't start a rookie quarterback week one, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Mac Jones is the guy that starts week one. I mean, I think he's ready to go.
I wouldn't either. And to answer Brad's question from earlier, whether I want Mac Jones or not, again, I'm never at any point in time going to pretend to be an expert in these matters at all. My philosophy when it comes to the Patriots is I want them to want the person they took. So that's why you always like to see them make a move up. They see a person they like and you go for it. For better or for worse, that's what matters. Is I liked this guy. So for all we know, the Patriots might have taken Mac Jones at 5 overall, and he might be their number 2 quarterback on the board. And they're absolutely giddy right now that they got him. And if that's the case, great. If that's who you want and that's who you think fits, and in your mind's eye, you had built a lot of what you were doing in and around the offseason with the idea that you might be able to land a player like this or a quarterback with his skill set, and that's what you're looking for, then great. I also want to say, have fun, San Francisco. At this point, you whatever leverage you wanted to have, whatever you wanted to do with Jimmy G, you just lost all of that, I guess. So I do wonder if San Francisco, I wonder, had San Fran played it different and said, this is pointless. We'll take a 6th round pick and just take Jimmy off our hands. What would have happened here? I don't really know. But Evan, you way prefer this over the Plan B Jimmy G scenario. Do you prefer Do you prefer it over the round 2 Kellen Mond scenario?
Absolutely. I mean, I really think that Mac Jones is a step above all of those quarterbacks, and to me, it wasn't 100% another Jared Stidham situation, but it was sort of in the same ballpark. If you take a guy like a Kyle Trask or a Kellen, especially if you take somebody like Davis Mills or Jamie Newman, right? Now we're really starting to throw darts at the position. And I think with Mac Jones, you at least have a quarterback that I feel like right now has the makeup and has the physical
Look at this guy.
ability to be able to.
He's strutting right now. He's strutting.
To be able to get a starting caliber quarterback. I think that you were projecting those other day 2 guys to potentially be a starter. I think Mac Jones is a starter. And you get a guy that, again, with Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, we know the relationship. We know how far back this thing goes with those 2 guys. I don't think that Nick Saban would have told Bill Belichick to take Mac Jones in the first round if Nick Saban didn't feel like Mac Jones was going to do what it takes to be great. If he wasn't going to put in the work, if he wasn't going to study the film, if he wasn't going to break down the opponent, all that kind of stuff. If he didn't do all that stuff, then Nick Saban would have told Bill pass, right? And he didn't. He told him to take him.
There's a few fallout. There's quite a big fallout from this pick on top of it. I think clearly, like you said, this closes the door on Jimmy Garoppolo. On top of that, it probably closes the door on Jared Stidham in New England. I don't see them keeping him as the third string quarterback. Maybe they continue to, but really the idea that maybe he has a chance to start this season is definitely out the door. On top of that, I think it in a way justifies their actions in free agency to surround whoever was going to be a quarterback with better weapons. You get 2 tight ends, you get multiple wide receivers, and you're improving the situation. Maybe it was going to be for Cam Newton, but I think they clearly had a plan at all times, a backup plan at all times. And this isn't going to be, if Mac Jones is a starter in week 1, this isn't him throwing to the Patriots 2020 weapons. This is a completely revamped offense. And it's going to give him a chance to succeed if he is that rookie starter.
Yeah, I think if you look ahead to day 2 now too, and you look at pick 46, the Patriots, one of the things that Alabama had a lot of was speed, obviously, at the wide receiver position. The Pats add Nelson Aguilar, who's a very fast receiver, but I would love to see them at 46 entertain somebody like a Tony or a Rondell Moore or Amari Rodgers, somebody that they can scheme open close to the line of scrimmage and have him create with the ball in his hands, like Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith did so well at Alabama with Mac Jones. Because as we talked about, a lot of the appeal of Mac Jones is that quick decision making and that ability to get the ball into guys' hands with good accuracy and anticipation and understanding how to get those guys into yak and into yards after the catch. Now they need to get some more yards after the catch receivers. They got Josue Smith, who is kind of, obviously as a tight end, but can obviously create with the ball in his hand as well. I would love to see them get that speedy gadget type of player now on day 2 in the draft, and there's plenty of them. Kind of pick your choice of whoever gets out of the first round here tonight. I think that's sort of the next step here, because you take a quarterback in the first round, you got the offensive line for the most part figured out. Maybe you still need to take a developmental tackle to fill in 2022, but you specifically need to make sure that you have an offense that fits the type of quarterback that Mac Jones is, because he is not somebody that's going to push the ball down the field a ton and wow you with arm talent and mobility and all these other tools. So you've got to be able to get guys pace and space, right? You got to be able to get guys the ball in their hands and let them create for Mac Jones the things that he doesn't necessarily do well. And that's going to have to be an Amari Rodgers, a Tony, a Moore, even a guy like a Dwayne Eskridge potentially, or Jalen Darden later on. Someone like that can sort of run with the football to get to those scheme touches that Alabama likes so much.
Like you said, there's a bunch of those guys, even Elijah Moore on top of that.
I don't know if he'll make it out of the first round tonight, but yeah, if he does, I mean, that'd be at the top of the list.
And another, we were kind of saying maybe they trade out of this and acquire more picks. Tomorrow night, thinking about surrounding Mac Jones with talent, they have pick 46, but they don't draft again until pick 96. So is now their second round pick expendable in the sense that they want to trade down and add value before, so they don't have a 50 pick stretch without a selection? I think it increases the potential that they trade of that second round pick, because they're just sat there at pick 15 and selected.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still kind of stunned that they actually took Mac Jones. I don't know. I mean, look, give Bill Belichick and the staff a lot of credit, though, for creating that Justin Fields smokescreen. Everybody thought that the Patriots were super high on Justin Fields. Yeah. That was what everybody thought, and they were able to kind of hype that up enough that their guy just fell to them at 15 without them even having to trade up for him.
And again, for what it's worth, and was talking to Greg earlier today, and this is something he'd written at BSJ, but without saying it, his vibe was there was outside of Lawrence, which was obviously not happening. There were 2 guys the Patriots would have been interested in if they had shots at them, and that was Wilson and Jones, and it wasn't Lance and it wasn't Fields, and that they wouldn't take them even if they were there at 15. That's kind of what he was hinting at. Whether or not you guys agree with that assessment, the Patriots, I think, definitely liked Mac Jones more than the guys taken ahead of him. And it's obvious, because if they, as we said, and we've seen the Patriots trade up for the player that they want several times in a draft. If Fields was their guy, they get Fields. They clearly liked Mac Jones better than the players taken ahead of him, and they got him at 15. At that very least, you have to be happy about that. Whether or not the player fits, that's going to be, or what kind of NFL career he has, that's obviously, Well,
He
we have
fits
to wait
like
and
a
see.
glove. He fits
Yeah.
like a glove. The question is does he have enough physical talent to make it special? You know, to make him a really special NFL quarterback, a special talent in the league. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not Justin Fields. He doesn't have those physical abilities, but at the same time, he has a lot of the small things. And some of the things that I wrote about when I wrote about him way back when was he just does a lot of the little things well. When you talk about the position, getting the ball out quickly, looking through reads fast, moving around in the pocket, understanding defenses and how to read coverage, all these types of things, right? All these little things, these dedicated behind the scenes. These are the things that you talk about with Mac Jones. Okay, maybe he didn't have the arm talent that Justin Fields had. Maybe he doesn't have the ball of clay that Trey Lance is, but he has all of these little cerebral quarterback aspects of it. And when you talk about those things and you're the Patriots and you're coming off of Tom Brady, that was the type of guy Tom Brady was, right? Tom Brady wasn't the toolsy prospect. He was the type of guy that made it with all those other intangible qualities. I'm not saying Mac Jones could be as good as Tom Brady, obviously, but
He had a bigger arm.
Clearly that's how they sort of feel that that's what they prioritized in this draft at the position, was somebody that checked those cerebral little things boxes a little bit more than maybe somebody that had the great arm talent in the 4.40 and all that kind of stuff.
So a couple things. Number one, the Cardinals took Zaven Collins at pick number
Yep.
16.
Yeah.
Not sure if you saw that.
Yep.
Potential Patriots target. Second one, Evan, do you think today that Mac Jones is a better professional quarterback than Cam Newton?
I feel like if I say no, then people are going to kill me for saying that in the chat. I
don't think he is, for the record.
I think that Cam Newton has the ability to bring more to the table, certainly, with the arm and with his mobility. I think Mac Jones is a better, more natural fit for the Patriots than Cam Newton ever was. And I felt like at times last year, and maybe they could get away from this if they stuck with Cam Newton and they really committed, or they went with the Trey Lance or Justin Fields and they really dove into the other parts of offensive football and built the scheme around that type of passer. But if they were going to stick with the Brady era playbook, with that type of offense, then it always felt like they were kind of forcing a round hole in a square peg with Cam. It kind of felt like the things that Cam did well never lined up with the things that made the Patriots offense good. Consistent ball placement, quick through the reads, things like that. He just didn't do those things as well as they needed them to do, to a quarterback to do them for the offense to be good last year. And there were a million reasons why the offense wasn't good last year, but that was up there. Mac Jones does all those things well. Now they have to, like I said, they need to start getting playmakers around him. I think that now on day 2, they need to invest in another wide receiver, because Mac Jones isn't going to be able to move around. He's not going to be able to extend plays. He's not going to be able to throw guys open at all 3 levels of the field like a Justin Fields would. So they need to get guys that can create with the football. That's the next step. If they come back tomorrow and they draft Amari Rodgers, they draft Elijah Moore, or they draft Rondell Moore, or they draft Dwayne Eskridge, something like that, I think that this begins to make a lot of sense to me, and I can get on board with it. I'm still stunned that they actually took a quarterback in the first round. I'm still stunned that it was Mac Jones. But I think to answer your question, that was a long answer. But to answer your question, I think right now Cam Newton brings more to the table physically than Mac Jones does. But I think that Mac Jones is a better fit for the Patriots.
See, I think that ultimately you're talking the first month of the season. And that's a very narrow scope. You're probably a better football team with Cam Newton as your quarterback, but if you broaden the scope to the entire season, now you can sell me on Mac Jones being better. And if that is the case, if he can develop over the course of a 17-game rookie season, then you would want to start him early on in his career in week 1. But I do believe that that Cam Newton will be around this year, and that regardless of who starts, that conversation is going to be had. If Mac Jones comes out and he's the starter and he struggles early on, he might get turned on quickly, and people are going to say, hey, maybe Cam Newton could do this. But the same conversation is going to be had if Cam Newton plays poorly